Hi, welcome back to Kick My Asana with Melanie Dawn. Today we're going to be bringing some fire and heat into the core. And you may hear people say or talk about discipline inside of a yoga practice and refer to it as tapas. This is the fire in your belly that gets you through your practice, especially on those days where you don't feel like being there. Which happens for sure. Let's start on our backs in bound angle, soles of the feet together, knees falling wide and apart. I'm working with a new camera, so playing with balance, focus, all that stuff. So these next couple videos may be bumpy, who knows. Let's start by taking the hands up overhead. So once the soles of the feet find each other and the knees fall wide and away, take your fingers up over shoulder height and reach the fingers so high that the shoulders start to peel away from the spine, and then hug them back in. Squeeze the shoulder blades to the spine. Reach up, fingers lifting, and empty, shoulder blades to spine, tucked nice and tight into the shoulder joint. In breath, release from the shoulder joint, floating. Exhale, dumping back into the body, hugging in nice and tight. We'll take 3 more of those. You can let your hands fall wherever they feel comfortable to. If you want to go into a bit of a shoulder opener, you can take cactus arms. Starting to draw breath down from the chest into the belly, creating a bed of the earth below you. A safe place to practice, a safe place to be. Closing the eyes and scanning what's happening for you through all 5 bodies. What's happening for me in my physical body. My energy body, breath body. Where am I breathing? How is my mental body doing? Is there a lot of chatter? Am I entrenched in the chatter, identified with what it is, pulled out of my practice, or am I just watching, witnessing, detaching? Moving into the wisdom that bubbles up from within. Beginning at the sacral chakra, the low belly. Bring awareness to that space and start to breathe just below the belly. And coming all the way up to the top of the head, the crown. Becoming aware of my connection to faith, to hope, to what exists outside of self, that there is support for me, that I am not here alone. If you are in a shoulder stretch and the arms aren't dropping all the way down, there's still some muscular tension happening. Take them just slightly outside of the hips, the waist, and drop in completely released from any tension, any muscular engagement for 3 breaths. And as you close off the counting of breath, come into why I'm here. Why did I come to my yoga practice today? And if you are here, congratulations. You made yourself a priority, and so many times we reschedule ourselves. So really celebrating that you're here today. Hands come to the outsides of the thighs. Left right, Lord help us today. Right thigh stacks over top of left, either starting to magnetize right ankle to calf or finding the bind. I don't have the bind today, so I'm just going to take both hands over top of my knees or my one knee and hug in towards the heart. You might feel this in your right glute. And we'll part the arms out shoulder height. Maybe plant the left foot down and shift the hips over to the right as your shape falls to the left. Breathing for 4. And everybody is home today as I'm recording this too, so we may have some, I want to call them intruders. I feel like they are intruders. It's like, when do they go to school? When do they go to work? Every day is a holiday. And coming back to center, left sole of the foot plants down, hips shift back to center. You'll take an inside arch grip of the right sole of the foot, or maybe outside arch grip, whatever feels good to you. Half happy baby. You can stay here with left knee bent, or flex the foot and extend your left leg towards the base of the mat, kicking actively through the heel, pulling back through the toes to sink the left hip down. And you may want to play with maybe micro straightening the legs, starting to think about that, but it's still pretty early. And then kick that right leg up towards the ceiling. Take a bind to the back of the thigh or calf or ankle. Breathing for 3. Heavying right hip down. Flexing both toes. Last breath. If you have a good reach, you can take the outside arch of the foot. You can begin to cross over, or just do it from the bind, starting to cross your foot over midline towards the left side of the mat. And that bind too, the left shoulder shouldn't be too far off the ground, so you shouldn't be up trying to grab for the foot. It's just not there today if that's what's happening. And then we'll take a bend through the right knee, drop that foot down, left thigh crosses over right, and you're coming in for the wrap or the bind. I do have a bind on this side, so I'm going to hug in, hands come over top of left knee, and squeezing, breathing for 3. And I may have lied to myself a little bit about having the bind here because it's torquing me pretty hard and pulling me over to the right. So I'm just going to magnetize my ankle towards my calf. Planting right foot down, hips slide to the left, knees drop to the right, and we find ourselves in twisted roots. It's so funny too, like I'm talking to no one, but I'm talking to you if you're here, and I can do it when no one's home, but I definitely feel self-conscious in a way when I know other people can hear me, which you think that it would do the opposite. Just ways that we are so weird and different. Last breath. And the entire shape travels back to center. Right sole of the foot plants down, hips realign, and inside arch is grabbed by left hand, or perhaps outside arch. It's never felt comfortable to me, but I know for some people they're like, inside arch, what is that? I feel the same about the outside arch. Right leg kicks straight, heel pressing, leading the pose, toes pulling in, yang practice. And starting to take the breath down into the belly, into the sacral chakra, lighting the fire. Left leg goes straight, binding back the thigh, calf, or ankle. Not loosening the energy on that extended right leg. If you are finding that the knee is bending or the foot is floating, you'll take a bend back through the knee and plant the sole of the foot there. Option to grab for outside arch, crossing over, or continue to hold the back of the leg wherever is comfortable and easy for you. Foot gently travels over to the right, just looking for some sensation, not tons of sensation. Some people in class will just lift their hip right up off the ground just to get the foot to the floor, but you're missing a lot of the sensation when the left hip lifts. So keeping it rooted, grounded, safe and stable. And then coming back through center, left knee bends and both legs go straight. Arms are going to reach up and then overhead. Filling up with breath here, lengthen, toes point, fingers reach, exhale, hug in, a gentle bend through the knees, a straightening of the legs as the fingers and toes reach up towards the sky. And then an inhale, knees bend, toes reach towards the base of the mat as they extend out, hands overhead. Filling up with breath. Knees bend, hands reach up. As the knees come stacked over hips, toes extend towards the ceiling. And a gentle bend as the toes reach towards the end of the mat and you come flat again. Knees stack over hips, fingers reach up towards the sky, legs straighten. And slow bend and expansion as you move through this oceanic core exercise. Everything is flowing. It may take you a few breaths or a few more movements to get into the peak of the posture, fingers and toes reaching towards the ceiling. Just playing with what is. If it feels completely undoable, I don't know if that's a word, try it with one leg. So we'll keep the body long. Take the left knee in, bring it up hip height as hands and toes reach towards the sky together. Bend the knee, reach the hands overhead, extend the left leg. Right knee bends, fingers reach up, toes point. And knee bends, body extends long. So you have that option, or to continue moving both knees together, both toes pointing, both legs lengthening, and arms overhead. Last one. Taking left hand around right wrist, you'll pull the fingers over to the left side of the mat, and then feet will follow. So right ankle may cross over left ankle, right hip stays rooted, and hands and legs are reaching towards left side of the mat as like a crescent moon. I was going to say something like a banana, but that word left my mind. First, bring the legs back through center, unwinding and crossing, and then hands follow. Right hand can grip left wrist as you reach over to the right side of your mat, and then left ankle can cross over right. Just depends on if that feels good to you. Maybe your feet don't even move from center. It's called banana asana, but I just have a really hard time. I feel like someone made that up somewhere. I'm going to have to look up Sanskrit for banana. Come back through center. Take a bend through both knees. Bring the heels close towards the glutes. Fingers will brush the back of the heels. Palms are planted down. Shoulders are tucked underneath the heart as you exhale. And exhales are for power. Exhales lift you through instead of holding your breath. Take a bind at the low spine. Send the knuckles towards the heels as you climb each shoulder blade even more under the heart, lifting the sternum, floating the belly up. Breathing for 4. 3. Hugging knees towards center but not touching them for 2. Last breath, really rooting into the heels, picking up the pelvis. Full cycle of breath, not holding, and then releasing the bind. A slow drop of the tail towards the heels, and then a hug in of the knees over top of the heart. Option to roll onto right or left side and come up, or take the hands to the back of the thighs and rock and roll, coming up into boat pose. So boat pose has a lot of variations, and you can do, this is stirring up my belly, variations, and you can start where you are. So just a slight lift of the chest, leaning back from the hips. Maybe you take hands to the back of the thighs, and you're breathing. So you should be able to breathe in these postures. If you're not breathing, then you need to change something. I sure hope this mic isn't picking up my belly. Option to lift one leg, 2, extend the leg straight. If you want to play a little bit more, take a peace finger grip of the big toes and then float the heels wide as you use the tension between arms and legs to hold you upright as well as your core. Breathing for 4. Whoop. 3. 2. See, I got caught up in my mind, and then my posture started to move just like it is now, staying in your breath. Coming back, boat. First variation of boat, feet down on the mat, and then hands will come behind. Wrists look at the back body, fingers point away. On your exhale, hips lift, finding reverse tabletop. Option to extend legs straight, maybe one or both. Hips are still lifting. If you have straight legs, coming back, reverse tabletop. Inhale, slow drop of the seat, crossing over the ankles, making your way into downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, heart presses back, and you can pedal out the legs, bringing some space and length into the back of the calves, hamstrings, pushing into energy into the shoulders. Gazing forward as you empty, tiny steps to the top of the mat till you come into your forward fold. Halfway lift, strong flat back. Exhale, fold. Rising up, hands come overhead. Again, right hand finds left wrist, and then we'll hinge over to the right, finding a nice side bend. Back through center, exhaling over to the left. Left hand finds right wrist. Come back up through center, over to the right. Inhale, center. And over to the left. Breath in, find your center. Lift the heart, trace the fingers back, and fold forward. Halfway lift. Folding. Right foot stays where it is. Left foot takes a step back. Big toe points. Left big toe is angled towards top left corner of your mat. And then front knee bend. Lifting belly off a thigh. Hands come up. Warrior 1. Warrior 1 with a bind. Find the hands at the low spine. Press the knuckles down your back body towards your back heel. Lifting your heart, lifting your chest. And as you empty out, hinging from the hip. And dropping right shoulder, interior of front leg. Back hands can lift up. We did this yesterday if you were here with me, just from a low lunge. Option to stay looking down at your mat, at your back foot, or turning gaze towards your belly button. And then coming up, flat back. Fingers are gonna be pressing down your back body, but not lifting away from the spine. You can stay here or just play with floating the back leg away, maybe imagining as though you're putting all your weight into your front foot, but warrior 3 with a bind, if you feel safe enough to do so. Back leg lifts, heel comes up hip height, and your knuckles are reaching towards your back heel. Release the bind, hands come up overhead as left knee comes up hip height. Thumbs through heart center, left thigh wraps over top of right, and either the bind or ankle coming in close to the calf. So I'll turn this way so you can see. Hips are sinking back as though you're in chair. Ooh. Hands are still at heart center. Stay here. I'm just gonna switch so you can see what's happening next. Start to press down through your standing leg, kick your left knee up, and then heel goes all the way back. Warrior 3 Anjali Mudra. Whoa. Breathing for 2. 1. Hands will come down, standing split, back heel kicks up. And both feet step forward. Subtle bend through the knees. Peace finger grip of the big toe. And then as you exhale, you're gonna pull the crown down towards your mat. Bend your elbows, pick your sit bones up. Release the bind of the fingers. Plant your hands, step back, plank. Plank, either knees or staying still, or you can hip drop. So right hip down, left hip down, right hip down, left hip down. Hold. Downward facing dog. Tiny climb to the top of the mat. Halfway lift. Folding. Breathing in, reaching up. Left hand takes right wrist, bending over to the left. Inhale through center and over to the right. Center. Left. Center. Right. Back through the mid, lifting up through the heart, tracing a back bend, diving forward, soft belly fold. Left foot stays where it is. Right foot takes a step back. Big toe, 45-degree angle, so that means it's looking at the top right corner of your mat. Strong belly, lifts away from thighs, hands come overhead. Warrior 1. Thread the hands at the base of the spine. You can take awkward grip if you'd like. So that's different index finger on top. Press the knuckles down your back leg as you hinge forward, dropping your heart to a flat back, and then eventually hugging left knee to inseam of front leg. Slow, steady breaths. As you start to thinking about shifting weight into the front foot, maybe that's just where you're playing today, or powering through the front leg, picking up the back heel, bringing it up hip height, keeping the bind or dropping the bind. Release the bind, hands sweep up overhead, right knee lifts. Thumbs through heart center as right thigh stacks over top of left and hips sink back into eagle chair. Breathing for 2. I'll change so you can see how we're getting out of this. Last breath. Lifting your right knee, kicking it back, warrior 3, Anjali Mudra. Hands come down, heel goes up, standing split. Both feet land at the top of your mat. This time we'll shift the weight into the heels and plant the palms of the hands so they connect with the soles of the feet, toes just brushing the backs of the wrists. Soften the knees, take a bend through the knees. As you exhale, you're going to bend your elbows, pulling your head down, picking your sit bones up, maybe the legs straighten. Releasing hands from soles of the feet, plant them down. Take a big step back, find your plank. Option for hip dips or even child's pose. And downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, big toes to center, right leg kicks up. You'll take right knee, right wrist, slide your ankle across, find your pigeon. Stay nice and tall. If you have had knee surgery, struggle with your knees at all, you want to support your the hip that has the bent knee out front. This is so that this hip's not dropping. I know everyone's like, oh, I want my hip to touch the ground. You want the hips to be level. You want them to be neutral. So if this hip is pulling down, it's pulling on your knee. So stacking a block or a pillow underneath that lifted hip, and then maybe finding forearms or all the way down. Breathing for 5. Noticing any thoughts or attachments, coming back to the intention for being here. If you have a block or anything underneath the hip, you'll release it, plant the palms, tuck the back toes, kick your back leg up. 3-legged dog. Option to stay here or bend the knee, drop back, rock star, wild thing. Left hip sweeps up. Come back through center. Take both feet down. Pedal out. Make any changes to your body. Maybe you need to just move right into pigeon here. Big toes to center. Left leg kicks up. Knee finds left wrist. Ankle just sweeping across the mat as you walk your back leg out behind you. And sometimes it's good to take a peek because things can be going crazy back there. You want your leg to be in line. And maybe finding elbows dropping in for 5. And you'll know in this practice, or notice in this practice, that I'm not guiding you into a lot of places that you're not already going. Leaving space for you to be your own pilot, own captain, queen, king of your mat. Now toes will tuck, palms press down, and leg will kick up. Whoop, I probably have a little bit too long of a stance there. Leg kicks up, either 3-legged dog or fire hydrant, and then possibly dropping back, rock star wild thing. Hand plants down, leg steps down, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Knees drop down, big toes to center. Widen the knees if they aren't already. Drop your heart. And we'll take 4 more breaths here in child's pose. Thinking about melting armpits down into your mat, creating a nest of support for your body, especially in the mental layer. Where have I been hard on myself? Have I been beating myself up? And if there's a purpose that it serves, what is it? If there's no purpose that it's serving, why do I do it? And so many of us won't know the answers to that, and I can tell you I didn't either for a long time. But the truth is that we get in a pattern of comfort, and if constantly being criticized is a comfort for us, we will do it over and over again. Be watching that in your practice. Press up into tabletop. From a tabletop, we'll shift onto the left hip. Take both feet forward. Widen the legs. Walk the hands forward. I don't feel dramatic today, which is very unusual. Hands will walk forward. Maybe you find forearms, feet are still flexed. If you happen to have a pillow, bringing a pillow underneath the arms. And we're breathing here for 10, really settling in. A slow climb of the spine up. Zero rush. No rush. All the time in the world. Taking the inseam of the legs side by side, extending them straight out in front of you. You may need to push your hips back, drop your heart forward, and then reaching for the toes. Maybe you grab calves, ankles, bottom of the feet. Breathing for 10. Last 2 breaths. Slow stack. Head over hips. Left ankle crosses over right thigh. This could absolutely be enough for you. If it is, you're normal. If you have more, you can plant your fingertips behind you, take a bend through the right leg, and do a seated figure 4. So once I have my bend through my right leg, I like to grab the back of the thigh, The more you bring your right heel closer to your glute, the deeper this figure four twist will go. You want to make sure that you have a flexed foot. Even if it feels like it's doing nothing, you are already prepared. I am here. This is a very stressful posture for the knee. If you can't do it, leg stays straight. Maybe you bring your sole of the left foot to the inside of the right leg. That could be enough too. If you have a little bit more and you want to play around, you can hook your elbows underneath left foot and underneath left knee. Take a bend through your right knee and kick the heel closer to the glute. This is like a rocking of the baby. Maybe you lace the fingers together. And that's not to say that everyone can or should be doing this, but if you want to be here, and you can be here and it feels good, then be here. If you want to try for something a little deeper, you have more space there, you can take right hand to outside arch of left foot. Left hand finds right ankle and start to straighten the leg up for compass. And I'm clearly not ready for compass. Typically the leg would be alongside your shoulder, but it feels nice where I'm at, what I'm doing. And then we'll straighten both legs back out, wherever you are, wherever you stopped. Both legs straighten back out, crown lifts, and exhale, folding forward for 5, 4, 3. When you're ready, climbing shoulders over hips, right ankle over left thigh. Maybe this is good, maybe it's not. It works out that I have my pillow here, because if this doesn't feel good for you, you can just take sole of the foot and let your knee rest on a pillow, a prop, or even just on the ground like that. If you have more space, fingers can come behind you until you get where you're going. You'll know. Figure 4 is very loud once it's home or found its home. And then take the hands to the back of the thighs. It takes less of the core work out of this. So if you want core, you can keep your hands behind you. But this, you're using more of a tension for support. I won't get anywhere near compass on this side. So if we thought my other side looked ratchet, wait for this one. Breathing for 2. You can stay here or rock the baby. Left elbow under right heel and taking a bend through left knee, bringing the heel in closer, maybe making a bind with the hands. You can find some really juicy spots while you do this too. So you could play here forever. Play as in like, play, let's go do an hour-long ab workout. That's the kind of play I'm talking about. It's not kind. Yeah, my neighbor's dogs again. Wow. We're moving soon. So there'll be probably a few more distractions as my partner brings his business to home. And yeah, lots going on here. Lots of updates coming. Option to stay there or moving in for compass. Right hand, left ankle, left leg straightens as... or right leg straightens, taking a grip. This is ridiculous. So anyways, look up compass pose. It's not for me today. Kick the heels out straight, taking an exhale as you drop into your forward fold. Just one more time for 3 breaths. You know, it's funny how we have these perceptions of what we should and shouldn't be able to do. Is like, you're a teacher, you should do this, you should do that. And I think should hit the road. Taking one last breath. Coming up. And we'll make our way onto back body. Coming into Shavasana. I like to enter Shavasana with a lot of tension, so hugging the knees over top of the heart, taking a nice rock from side to side, massaging the low spine, especially if you were just in compass and you probably shouldn't have been. Like me, my spine is like, girl, what are you doing? And then we'll hold stillness at center. Take a big breath in, fill all the way up to the belly. Let the belly press into the thighs. Squeeze the knees towards the heart. Hold your breath once you're full. And as you let go, drop softly into your Shavasana shape. Legs fall long and heavy towards the base of the mat. Toes are no longer connected to center. They succumb to gravity and drop away from each other, away from midline. Welcome Shavasana with 3 deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Filling up. Letting go. Last big breath. Release. Stay here. Breathe here. Be in silence for at least a minute. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Namaste.